You have probably worn this patch. Do you know why? Hey, ScouterStan, let's talk about the training strip, the patch that a lot of leaders have on their uniform, right? You know, that's that's the key. The training patch, prior to its introduction, it was unknown. It was almost impossible, unless you went through the records, who was trained for what. The position patch was there, but you didn't know if they were being trained. And that was a huge reason to identify leaders that knew or should know what they are doing and what their responsibilities are. Letting other people know. That was the big change that needed to occur in scouting. Scouting America has gone through a lot of different changes over time. And that's true for all of the scout leaders training that's out there. So if you're an assistant scoutmaster, a scoutmaster, a den leader, your scout cub master, you name the position, there's specific training for that. And it has evolved and changed over time. I've always said that things that do not evolve and change and get better often tend to go extinct. So that is one of the things we don't want to happen in scouting, and we want all our leaders to get fully trained. Now, the birth of the trained strip started in 1980. This was also when the uniform changed. We went from a green uniform, green shirt and green pants, to more of a green pants and a tan shirt that you see today. That's when this training strip first got out there. And it was for leaders, and it was red. It had a red with tan. That's where it started. And that particular training strip was to be put right next to the position patch. So if you were a Scoutmaster, you'd have it right below. Unless you have the new fancy shirt that has the pocket, it would go on the pocket flap, right above where the training or the position patch would go on the pocket. So it was kind of a combination. It was one of those two positions. This kind of correspond with the red epaulets. The red epaulets that you wore on the shoulders matched up with the patch. So that's the key. If you're wearing red epaulets, now this is for those that are using the traditional uniform, they wear red epaulets, they need to have a red train strip. Now this training strip that was put on the uniform was obvious to parents and other people that within the unit who was responsible for different things. Like the assistant scoutmaster was what their responsibilities were very similar to the scoutmasters. So, if you have that training, that was the big key. And a lot of times you got patches and stuff and you just don't know where they go. You don't know. We do have a video on that very subject. Check that out, and it will tell you where these things go, where they should be fastened onto the uniform. There's a lot of things about a uniform, and the big thing that I like to constantly say, and I probably will several times, and that is a uniform tells a story. Whether it be their training and what they're responsible for, who's the go-to person for quartermaster, that kind of thing. Train strips just kind of helps the leadership find the right people and know what they're responsible for. And having in the right position is very important. Now, as a trained leader yourself, It's important to understand that you have to keep that up to date. It's not one and done. You got to go back and check that training to make sure that you're current. And that's for any of the specific things that you might be involved in, to make sure that that's up to date. Some things can kind of go out of date, and all of a sudden you don't have that certification for that position. So you need to continuously check on those things. Sometimes you'll hear on the internet things that are going on where that one and done old requirement is now you have to renew it. So that's something you have to keep current. And this falls back to safeguarding youth. This is the new requirement. This is the new thing. In order to keep trained, to keep everything you have current so that you can wear the trained strip. That's important. You have to do the training. Sometimes there's live training and sometimes it's all online. But that training is essential. You have to keep it current in order to have that trained strip on your uniform. Now, training, what it really meant was different. Prior to 1980, if you had a position patch, it was just assumed that you were fully trained and up to date. That's not always the case. Sometimes a Scoutmaster or a Cub Master or den leader would get the position but didn't do the training. Now, believe it or not, it still exists today. I was talking with somebody from National that actually said that technically only 40% of all leaders out there are actually trained and up to date. That's shocking. Absolutely shocking. We need to change that, okay? And this patch identifies that and rewards that training. That's so critical for the success. Baden-Powell even said that the youth, the scouts, deserve a trained leader. That's so important. We have to have that baseline training, not just for the position, but for all of the little extras that go with that position. That needs to be done. Now, in the past, sometimes the training was just overlooked. It's a combination of not only the position, but also the trained strip that says they're trained for that position. Even today, we have scout leaders who are multiple registered. They might do different things within council or district or different things. They need to be trained for every single one of those positions. Otherwise, that trained strip means nothing. So it's critical that the training is kept up to date. Common misunderstandings or concepts that are just out there. One of the big ones is that your training is automatic. No, sometimes you have to go in and do the course. And that takes a little bit of searching through the online service to make sure that you're getting the right thing. Sometimes it's assigned. Yes, that does happen. But it's important that you keep it up to date. You have to do the actual training. You can't just assume because you have that position patch that you know everything about that patch and all of the different things that you should know that come out in the training. So that's an important thing or concept that you need to make sure that you do the training. Another big common mistake is that you think that just because of that position, that's all that you have to do. There's other types of training. For instance, if you're a Scoutmaster or an assistant Scoutmaster, hazardous weather needs to be done in addition. Safe swim and those kinds of things, they need to be done in addition to the basic training. So you need all of the little things that go along with that. So that's an important thing. Just the basics of whatever position you're doing, that's essential. But you need to add in all the little extras like safeguarding youth. That has to be up to date. You have to, if you're going on a canoe trip, you need safety afloat. You need these things. There's additional modules that you need to add to your online training. Sometimes they have live training, so you might want to take advantage of that. A lot of summer camps do that for the adult leaders that go to summer camp. Now, another big misconception is that old-timers think that they've done that. I don't have to do it again. You're wrong. You need to do the training. You need to keep it up to date. You know, you're not really doing a service to anyone. You're doing a disservice to yourself. Go and do the online training. It might bring things to memory that you forgot. You know, old people like us, we tend to lose our train of thoughts. But as far as the training, renewing that, doing it again is a good idea. Even if it hasn't expired, technically, you can do training over. And that always is a benefit. It helps you focus in more on what you might have forgotten or overlooked. So definitely don't think for any time period that it's one and done. No, you don't want that. Hey, before we go any further, I want to personally invite you to come to the Campfire Chat. We have this on the very first Sunday of each month, starting at 9 p.m. I also want to personally thank all of the supporters on Patreon. This is a great way to help out on what we do here. Also, I want to get you involved in the channel. You can join the channel by hitting the join button on any of the screens that you see. This will help you get more information about what is going on in our membership of our channel, and it's a great way to help us out. Definitely check out the big list here for your name. Why this matters even today. The train strip sets a precedence within your unit that these are trained leaders. That's the thing. When parents are viewing your unit, they want to make sure that the scout leaders are good hands, that they have the knowledge base of what they're supposed to be doing. That's the key. It is so critically important that this follows down through the youth in a troop or a crew to make sure that they have the training also. We have training available that's live. A lot of people are kind of don't like the online training. I don't know why, because it's at their beck and call. But they don't like the mechanized, generic training. They want the live stuff. And it is available, so you have to look for it within your district. If you're an old-timer and you want to bring that back, that's fine. Okay, you need to talk to your district within your council to make sure that you could do some training like that. You could actually head that up and have different training days, so you could do the live training. It's not exclusive for online. Good case in point with the youth. That training is done within the unit. That's a big thing. And they do the training and they give out the strip, and it's done live. There's also council training for youth, known as National Youth Leadership Training, NYLT. That is something that you need to look into. I often call it the wood badge for youth because it's a week-long thing and it's amazing, okay? The whole phases that they go through, amazing. Now, I've been in scouting for a while, and I can recall times when trained leaders wearing that strip weren't actually trained. And that was a surprise. And I think that if you go through the process of looking at the training for your unit, not only you are training, but also others that are within the unit, you'll find that there are holes. There are things that didn't get accounted for. They didn't get written down into the records. So it's important that everyone in the unit, a lot of times as a unit commissioner today, this is a training report that they have. So ask your unit commissioner. They will actually have a list of all the different people in different positions that they're supposed to be trained for that are not. And it might be additionals that need to be added on or updated, so to make them fully trained. So it's important that you work with your unit commissioner and make sure that you get that report. There's also a position within packs, troops, crews, and ships where you have a trainer, okay, a unit trainer that looks at the training materials and makes sure that that assistant scoutmaster or that den leader has gotten the training that they need. So that's a position within the unit. So definitely look into that. That is a wonderful thing, so that you can actually make your unit even better. I know it's great now, but imagine if everybody's on the same page. Oh, it's going to be fantastic. So definitely think about going through your roster and making sure that everyone has those opportunities to be a fully trained leader. Do you have an actual ceremony recognizing adult leaders and youth leaders with their train stripped? This is something, this train strip is so critical to be recognized. When you do that, it's not just automatically put onto the uniform and everything. You have to have some kind of recognition. I've been in troops where they actually took the leadership that had gone through that training and they all surround the troop flag and they do the scout oath and they're all presented with that training strip. So incredibly important that there's a ceremony to recognize that with your unit, whether it be a pack, a troop, a crew, whatever. It is so critical that we recognize the leaders that have made the effort to make sure that they're fully trained for their position. That training strip, even though it's a small patch, it has so much meaning. And by doing a ceremony to recognize it, it really cements it together, that meaning along with that patch. The uniform tells a story, and it should be something to be proud of. Wear it with pride. Now on that, we have a lot of videos on this channel, and one of them is about square knots, these things. Square knots are awesome. They tell a story, so it's important to know what's out there, So definitely check out the video on square knots. Those two are also very important and should be recognized by whatever unit you are in, to make sure that those things are recognized, and the importance of that with others might be inspiring. That's another thing. Not only the train strip giving that inspiration to do the training, but having the knot involved, that's every one of those knots that has to do with a position requires training. kind of goes hand in hand. So having a ceremony like that is important. And I would, if you have a ceremony or some kind of input that you'd like to put, please put it in the comments of this video. I'd love to hear them. I don't always reply right away. My eyesight is not like what it was, and hopefully that'll get better. But that's something. But definitely put that in there. I'd love to hear about your ceremony of recognizing scouts that have gone the extra mile to do the training and to get the nod or something of that nature. Now, in scouting, we do so much. We do great things, and it's important that we recognize those moments when you've taken that extra moment to do the training, to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, okay? Got to get that done. So critical. But wearing the uniform tells a story. That's the key. And because of that, I did a video a while back, and it's very popular. But the uniform does tell a story. So check that out. That is an awesome video. Until next time, I'll see you on the trail.